There are over 8 million people today that are covered by federal employee health benefits. 2 million of those are retired, 2 million are active, and 4 million are actually family members. The FEHB program is the largest employer-sponsored health insurance program in the world. The question is, when they retire, what do they do with Medicare? There are actually 5 different options available. In this video, I'll explain each of them. All right, so we're going to look at all the details of these 5 different options. I'm going to show you the pros and the cons. Now, as we talk about option number 1, I want to be very clear about this. This option would be only for those people that have FEHB. In other words, you have to be retired from the federal government to even have this option to do A only in retirement. If you don't have FEHB benefits, you would never select this one. Now, even if you have FEHB, I'm not saying this is a good option. I wouldn't take this one, but it is an option you have because it's unique based upon the FEHB options. So let's go through this. So when I say that someone has A only, this means that they were eligible for Medicare B, but they did not take Medicare B. They chose just to have A only. So let's talk about how this works. So if I have A only, that means that I have Medicare coverage on hospitalizations. I have Medicare coverage for a skilled nursing facility, which would be after a stroke or maybe an injury or accident, a fall or something, or a hip replacement. So I have coverage there. And then I also have coverage on hospice because these are the things that Part A is going to cover. And so what that means is that if I had a hospital skilled nursing facility claim, that means that Medicare is going to pay first, and then the second payer is going to be FEHB. Okay, so again, this is only on those types of claims, all right? So then what's going to happen, though, if I choose not to have B, and the B is going to be what? B is going to be all the doctor services as well as everything that would be outpatient type of services. This would also be durable medical equipment. This would also be home health care. And so that's normally what B covers. So what that means, if I had A only, since I don't have B, then what's going to happen is first payer is going to be my FEHB, and then the second payer is going to be you, the insured, because you declined B. All right? And so these bills are going to be processed differently if I have A only. All right, so let's go through and let's talk now about the pros and the cons of this decision of having A only and decline taking B. So the first pro, and really the only pro, and I don't think this is that positive of a thing, but at least this would be one pro, and that is this, is that you do not have to pay the Part B premium. All right, so the Part B premium, you don't have to pay it because you didn't enroll in that. All right, now right now that's $174.70 a month. Now, I am shooting this video October the 10th of 2024. They have not yet let us know what the Part B premium will be for 2025. Most people are projecting it's going to be around $185. The point is, whatever the Part B premium is, if you don't have Part B, you're not going to have to pay that. Now, this is also a premium that's based upon income. So if you're a single filer and you're below $103,000, that number is correct. If you make above $103,000, then that actually would be an additional amount. It's a surcharge called an IRMA. So if you don't enroll in Medicare B and you are high income, single above 103, then again, you wouldn't have to pay that either. If you're a married couple that files a joint return, that number is $206,000. So if I'm below the 206, then that's what I'm saving. If I'm above the 206, again, I would not have the IRMA. So that would be the only pro. You're not have to pay the Part B premium. Now, there are actually a couple of cons, though, so let's talk about the cons. So what happens here is that my A, of course, was covered, and that's well. But on the B side, the con is going to be is this. You are the second payer. And so what does that mean? Well, I know FEHB is not going to pay 100% of all the doctor bills, durable medical equipment bills, those home health care bills, if you had a surgery, those kinds of things on an outpatient basis, they're not going to cover 100%. So you're going to be responsible for some out-of-pocket expenses because you're are going to be the second payer. And so you may have a max out of pocket of $3,000 or $5,000. You may have co-insurance of plan pays 80%, you pay 20%. But the point is you're going to be out of pocket because you're the second payer up to a certain limit. All right, so that's one of the cons. The other con would be what happens is down the road you may change your mind and you would like to add Medicare Part B. This happens on a regular basis. And so what happens is this. You can pick up Part B as long as you're eligible for it. You paid into the system for 40 quarters, 10 years worth of taxes. Then you pick up Part B. But the problem is you didn't take it at 65 when you retired, and so now you only qualify to add Part B during what is called the general enrollment period. And that is the first 3 months of any year. So if you said, hey, I want to add Part B, and you make that decision in April, you can't do it. You would have to wait till the following year because you're only eligible to come into Medicare using the general enrollment period because you declined it when you were first eligible. And then also what happens is there's penalties that come along with Medicare Part B. I've seen plenty of people that were FEHB retirees that added Medicare B later, and they went without for 3 years. They had a 30% penalty because for every 12 full months that we go out with Part B when we could have had it, they assess a 10% penalty, and it's added to the Part B premium. So if you go without 3 years, it's 30% added to that. 4 years, 40%. I've seen it some people as much as 5 years they went without Part B. And so the point is if we don't take it when we're first eligible, either at 65 or when we retire, now what's going to happen is we can still pick it up during the GEP, but first 3 months of the year only, and again, those penalties will be assessed. All right, so again, this is an option. It's not one that I would definitely recommend, but it is one that's available to you. Hey, if you found this video helpful and you want to see more Medicare information just like it, then go below, right below the video, and you can give us the thumbs up as well as subscribe to our channel. And every time I put a new video, which is about 2 every week, you'll be notified of that video, and others just like you who need this vital information will get it as well. All right, that brings us then to option number 2, and that is that you do decide to enroll into A and B, and you also, of course, now have just FEHB only. In other words, we don't take any other insurance other than that which is offered to us by FEHB. All right, so let's talk about the pros of this. One of the pros, in my opinion, is now your Medicare A and B on all claims are going to be the first payer, and now you have FEHB as the second payer. I think that's a better option than a first one that we looked at. So that's a nice option. Secondly, what happens is the majority of people that are on FEHB as they go into retirement usually go with Blue Cross Blue Shield, Fed Blue, or they may have GEHA. All right. And I know there's some other options, but I know at least those two, what they will do when you enroll into Medicare B, they actually give you right now, it's about $800 a year credit. Okay. So they give you $800 a year credit. So if my Medicare right now is right at $175 on a monthly basis, you take that $800 divided by 12, they're actually reducing that down. So it only costs you about $100 a month to be enrolled into Medicare B. So again, both of those carriers are going to do that. Why? Because they actually would like to be in the second payer position. So they're going to give you a credit, and that's, of course, on an annual basis. So that would certainly be a positive in that particular scenario. Okay. Now, what are the cons? Well, the cons are premiums, all right? So number one, I've got a premium for my B now of $174.70. Gonna have to pay that. Remember when I said income, if your income is above 103,000 single filer, that could be more. Married filer above 206, that could be more. Remember, we have those additional surcharges called IRMA. In addition to that, now I don't have to pay my B, but I got my FEHB premium. Now, some of these are very attractive. But others can be expensive, and so that could be anywhere from $200 a month per person. I've seen it as high as $300 a month per person for FEHB benefits. All right, so that would definitely be somewhat of a con if we're only looking at premiums. Now, I don't just look at premiums, but it's something that we certainly have to bring into the issue here. Now, let's go back to the pros. Now, when I talk about this position here, A and B with FEHB, you also have a Part D plan that's included. Actually, it's not called a Part D plan, but it's a Part D plan that's considered to be credible coverage. So it's equivalent to a Part D plan. And so you wouldn't have to go out and buy a separate Part D plan for that. Okay, so your drug coverage would be included in that inpatient and outpatient as well because, again, we took FEHB and A and B. So that is an option. I think option number 2 is certainly better than option number 1. And so now let's go to option number 3. All right, so for this one, what we're doing is we enroll in A and B. And then, of course, we still have our FEHB benefits. But in this one, what a person will do, they will enroll into a Medicare Advantage only plan. And this is an option. In fact, this is a very popular option right now. And so, again, let's talk about the pros of doing this situation here. So what I have here is if I enroll into a Medicare Advantage only plan, what will happen is FEHB will coordinate with that Medicare Advantage only plan. Now, if I didn't have an Advantage plan, as we had option number 2, I just have this, FEHB agrees to coordinate with A and B. Here, they're going to coordinate with the Medicare Advantage plan, the private health insurance company, and they are actually going to be the first payer. So let's talk about it. So the first would be the Medicare Advantage company, and this, again, that's all you have is an MA only plan. And then the second payer is going to be FEHB. And in this scenario, you have very little out of pocket, just like you would have on option number 2, as far as out of pocket costs, co-insurance, co-pays, and all that. Because Advantage Plan pays first, they pay second, and it's almost 100% coverage here. So that's certainly one of the pros. Now, I want to clarify something. Because we kept our FEHB benefits, what we're going to do in this scenario, because we have an MA-only plan, our prescriptions are still going to be given to us by FEHB. In other words, we're going to use that drug component within our FEHB benefits to get our prescriptions. Okay, we don't have a separate Part D plan because FEHB will provide that. Now, in this scenario, we still got our credit. Remember the $800 credit from Blue Cross or GEHA, either one, they'll still continue to give that to you as well. Okay, so very little out of pocket. And certainly that drug component would be very attractive as well. So what would be the cons in this scenario? Well, what do we have? Well, we've got our $174.70 for B. We've got our premium for FEHB, again, somewhere between $200 to $300 per person, right? And so, again, we're going to be spending some money out of pocket. But very little money, if anything, out of pocket other than premiums because we have this coverage. Now, another thing that happens, because this Medicare Advantage plan is now in the first payer position, what happens is that Advantage plan is actually going to throw in some perks, okay? And so what you'll have that you probably did not have in FEHB, you'll have some kind of a dental allowance. And again, that's going to vary, from plan to plan. You'll have some hearing aid options. Typically, maybe a gym membership, that would be a possibility. Vision allowance for eyewear, those kinds of things. And then also, very common today, and again, there's lots of different plans, but a lot of the MA-only plans will actually give you what is called a Part B give back. Part B give back. And so what that means, let's say my Part B premium is $174.70 a month. That Part B give back could easily be $100 a month, sometimes even more. Okay, so they'll actually give you a credit on your Part B. So the question is, why would the MA only plan do that? Well, because you're getting your prescriptions through FEHB. They don't have to spend as much money on you, and so what they're doing, they're willing to give you a credit back on your Part B, which if you're taking Social Security, that would increase your Social Security check. If you're not taking Social Security, then that would decrease your Part B bill by that amount of money. Again, I'm just saying on average about $100 a month, sometimes more or a little bit less. So that would definitely be the benefits. Plus the perks. Now we got our Part B give back over here. And so there's a lot of people today that really do like this option because sometimes their FEHB benefit doesn't come with much dental or vision or hearing aids or gym membership. And so they can get those perks and then take the advantage of that money that's coming back by FEHB from that particular carrier that you have. All right, so that's option number 3. Lots of folks doing this one today. That brings us now to option number 4. Again, we'll talk about the pros and cons. So in this scenario here, someone again is enrolled into Medicare A and B, both for sure. But notice we have a minus FEHB, meaning now what we're going to do in this scenario is we're actually going to suspend our FEHB benefits. Not going to use them at this particular time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a traditional Medicare Advantage with a prescription drug plan built within it. All right. And so again, this is kind of coverage is what probably well over 30 million people today that are on Medicare are doing. So instead of using your FEHB benefits, now we're just going to roll into a traditional Medicare Advantage plan. All right, so what would be the pros of this? Well, the first pro would be this, no premium now on the FEHB, okay? So no premium for FEHB. So again, we're talking about that $200 to $300 per person. So we're going to eliminate that premium. You no longer have to pay that. That premium actually comes out of your annuity. So with a form that I'll show you here in just a minute, once that's filled out and sent into OPM, they actually will stop taking that premium out of your annuity check. Okay, so that's certainly one of the pros. Also, one of the pros is that, again, there's 30-some million people that have this option, so you would just be doing what the majority of people are doing today that are on Medicare. They actually have Advantage plans today, so that certainly would be a pro. So nothing out of the ordinary there whatsoever. Okay, the other thing I like about this option here is it is not permanent. This is not a permanent decision. We're only suspending our FEHB benefits. You're not withdrawing or canceling, so it's not a permanent decision. So every year, if you decide you want to change back and get off this MAPD and go back to FEHB, you're eligible to do that during the Medicare open enrollment season. Okay, so that definitely would be a pro. So what would be the con? Well, the con is we do have some paperwork involved. It's not a big deal, but again, that's something that you're going to have to complete, and I'll show you exactly how you would look at that. Okay, and other than a little bit of paperwork, I really don't know of any con whatsoever. And the reason I'm saying that is because since we're not making a permanent decision, we can always reverse that on an annual basis. Okay, and so in this scenario here, as far as out-of-pocket expenses, what we're saying is with my MAPD, and we may call this a con, we do have some co-pays that we'll have to pay. So if you go to the doctor, probably would be zero copay, but if you saw a specialist, it may be a $30 or $40 copay. So I got some copays. There may be some services that I get that I have co-insurance. If I had maybe chemotherapy, I would actually be paying 20% co-insurance up to a certain limit. But the point is I've got some out-of-pocket expenses because, again, I have suspended FEHB. I'm no longer in that system. And so I'm just going to pay as I go with my Medicare Advantage. And again, that's what most people are doing today. But the good news is, and this would be a pro, that the plans always set a max out of pocket. And those are going to vary this year. HMOs are around 3,000 or 4,000, PPOs maybe 4,000 to 7,000. But the point is, you have a responsibility for a max out of pocket as you pay those copays. But it's very reasonable. In fact, sometimes people will go ahead and get some insurance that costs about $30 or $35 a month to actually cover some of those out-of-pocket expenses. Those are called indemnity plans or copayment protection plans. And so if someone's concerned about maxing out, then we get some insurance to at least help offset some of those expenses. All right, so the cons, paperwork. I'm now in a pay-as-I-go system. I've suspended FEHB. So let me show you exactly how we actually implement this particular option. Hey, if you've come to the place where you know you're going to have to make some Medicare decision pretty soon and you want to make the right one of the best ways to do this is to go down below, and you'll see in the comment section there, the very first pinned comment at the top. You can actually click on the link there and you will book a call. And you'll book a call with one of our Medicare guides. All the guides with our company, I have personally trained them. They're professional, they answer all your questions, and they'll show you your Medicare options so that you'll be confident in your decision. Let's get back to the video. All right, so this is the form that you're going to use. This is called an RI 79-9, okay? RI 79-9. You can get this, of course, online. All right, so this information here, of course, would be your name and your present mailing address. And then, of course, the date you filled this out, and then your civil service number. You'll know your particular claim number. All right, so this is just the beginning of the form. You see it's from the Office of Personnel Management. I think you can go back to that office, or there's an office in Pennsylvania you can mail it to. But the point is, we have to complete this form because what we're going to do is we're suspending our FEHB benefits, and therefore we don't have to pay for a premium any longer out of the annuity. Now, I want to draw your attention to this. So the purpose of the form is this, and it says you ask us to cancel or suspend. In this example, with option number 4, we're just suspending. So you ask us to suspend your enrollment in the Federal Employee Health Benefit Program. So in order to amend your annuity to increase your check, you're going to have to send this form in. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Now, I want to show you as we do option number 4, we enroll in A and B. we suspend our FEHB, and then we have a traditional Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan. Okay, so what we'd be doing, we'd be checking this box here, and then it says here, I am suspending my federal health benefits program enrollment because I'm enrolled in a Medicare Advantage health plan. So if you have every right to do that, again, millions and millions of people are covered by these kind of plans. So you check the box C, and then of course you'd sign your name on the form and then mail it into the proper office with OPM. All right, so that's option number 4, and this is how you can implement that. And just as a reminder, this is not permanent because we just suspended. Then every year during Medicare open enrollment, if you decide, I no longer want to be on the Advantage plan, I want to return back, then you can notify FEHB and they will take you back, and you're just back in the same position you were when you first started. Okay, so that's option 4. Okay, that brings us into option number 5. And again, we'll talk about the pros and the cons. And this will be our last of the options. And this is someone that does enroll, of course, in A and B. And again, they eliminate their FEHB benefits. Okay. And what this person is choosing to do is to get a Medigap policy. Most people today are getting a G plan or an N plan, all right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a Part D plan. So this is actually, we're going to add that prescription drug coverage. Now keep this in mind, when we talk about A and B, Medicare A and B covers medications, but only those that are professionally administered in a hospital or an outpatient type setting, doctor's office. So they cover those. So Part D plans are for our self-administered medications, cholesterol, blood pressure medications, insulin, those kinds of things that you self-administer come through Part D plans. All right, so let's talk about, first of all, the pros of doing this. Well, the pros is roughly 40% of all of Americans are on these kinds of plans. So again, a lot of people are doing it. And so where we often will see this, there's sometimes that people have very expensive FEHB monthly premiums. I've seen them as high as $300 to $400. If the couple could be $600. And so again, what happens, the pro here is what we're doing is we're eliminating our FEHB premiums. So whatever that amount of money is, if it's $200, remember the $300 a month per person. Okay, so we're going to eliminate that. All right, so that's definitely one of the pros. Also, I'm going to have, like a wonderful plan, because if I have a G plan, G covers 5 of the Medicare 6 gaps. So I'm going to have very little out of pocket if I have a G plan, because all I have to do once a year is meet my Part B deductible. That deductible this year is $240, and so that's almost full coverage. So once I've met my small deductible on an annual basis, whatever it is, because it resets every January, you pay that, and then as long as you're seeing a Medicare provider and as long as you're getting a Medicare coverage service, you have full coverage other than the B deductible. So again, we have awesome coverage, and then of course we picked out our own prescription drug plan. So that would definitely be the pros. Okay, now what would be the cons here? Well, the only con would be if I decide to take one of these options here. Now what's happening is I'm going to have to actually terminate. I'm going to cancel. So I have to terminate my FEHB benefits. Now I have had lots and lots of people in my career, 15 years, do this because they weren't happy with their FEHB program. They didn't like the premium they were having to pay. So they're just disappointed maybe by the network or whatever was available to them. But the point is, when we make this decision here, we're actually going to terminate those FEHB benefits. Okay, and of course your termination letter, once it goes into OPM, then that will they'll drop off the premium, which is of course going to increase your annuity check. And so the point is, someone who wants to have really, really good insurance, and if they're paying a lot of money for their FEHB benefits, this is oftentimes a very good option. So you just make a comparison to see if this actually makes financial sense. And if it doesn't make financial sense, I certainly would not do this option. But if it does, this is a great option if you're looking for wonderful insurance. So let's talk about the paperwork involved with this as well. All right, so we're back to that RI 79-9 form is what we're going to be using. It's the same form. But on this one, noticing what we're doing, we're going to check the box of option B. And again, this was RI 79-9 form, okay? So what we're doing with this one is this. It says, I am canceling my FEHB coverage for reasons other than the situation described in Part A. So we're going to do this option here. But here's what I want to draw your attention to, because it's very important. It says here, if you check this block to cancel your FEHB enrollment, you will not be eligible to re-enroll in the FEHB program. Remember, if I took the Medicare Advantage plan I was suspending, I could come back. But if I decide to do this, then it's going to be a permanent decision. And again, I've had lots of people in my career who are comfortable doing that because, again, they were satisfied with the FEHB insurance, the premium, and those kinds of things. So that'd be the only reason I would suggest this. But this, again, would be another option. All right, so just a quick summary. Number one, option, Part A only, plus FEHB. I told you that's probably the last option that I would choose, just because I think there's a lot of risk involved in that particular position. You could keep things just with your FEHB benefits. You've been on that program all your life, and if you had Medicare to it, then that certainly would be just really a continuation of everything that you have been doing thus far. But again, I'd certainly look at what's that costing me to do that. Again, you can keep FEHB, add the MA only. Remember that people do this because of the givebacks, because of the perks that are involved with this. This, again, very popular option today. Just suspend. Now, didn't terminate, take an MAPD, come back anytime you want, or if you're unhappy totally with the FEHB, go ahead and terminate it, cancel it, and then just go a traditional Medigap policy, a G plan or an N plan, and pick up that prescription drug plan. So those are your 5 options, and most of you, I just want a couple things I want to clarify. If you decide to do either one of these, there's no reason that we can help you. We just cannot do that. You'd have to just deal with your insurance company that you have with FEHB. But any of these options here, we're able to assist you in that entire process to make sure that when you make that decision, whether it's 3 or 4 and do some type of Medicare Advantage plan, you want to be on the right plan. Or if you do this, we certainly want to select the right Medigap policy, the right carrier to give you a good premium as well as rate stability. And we'd be delighted to work through any of the options number 3, 4, and 5 with you. Just call our office and we'll go through that process, make sure you see the prices, make comparisons, compare the companies, compare the coverage, because we want to make sure that you're making the right decision.